Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Batra. We are up to Perek Tet Mishnah Aleph. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Ranbai Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov Chana bat Miriam Sason ben Raya and Yoshua ben Shifra Menuchatam beGan Eden Amen and Le'avdi ben Chaim Lechaim v'Derefua Shelemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa Betor Shah Chole Israel and Dachlama Merav ben Amin Or Tzion Chai ben Dvorah. We learned in the last Mishnah of the previous chapter that one of the Ketubah-related obligations a man accepts upon himself when he marries is that his minor daughters will be supported from his estate after he dies, either until they reach adulthood or until they are betrothed, whichever comes first. In this context, adulthood means reaching the stage of Bagrut, which generally occurs at the age of 12 and a half. The daughters are entitled to receive money for food, clothing, shelter, and all of their other needs. The Mishnah discusses how this requirement affects the division of a father's estate. If someone died and left both sons who are his closest heirs and young daughters who do not inherit but are entitled to be supported from the estate, how the estate is divided depends on its size. When there are many properties in the estate, meaning the estate is at least large enough that both the sons and the daughters can support themselves from it until the daughters will reach adulthood, then the sons inherit the entire estate and the daughters receive support from them. The sons take possession of the entire estate as they are the closest heirs, and they must give the daughters an allowance for support until the daughters reach adulthood. Nechasim mu'atin, but if the properties are few and there is not enough to support all of the children until the daughters will reach adulthood, habanot izonu v'abanim yish'alu al ptachim, then the daughters are supported from whatever funds are in the estate until they reach adulthood, meaning the amount of property that is needed to support them until adulthood is set aside for their needs, and the sons may not use it, they receive only whatever remains, and the sons have no choice but to go around to people's doors and beg for food. Since they must leave the set-aside properties for the daughters, they have no option but to be supported from charity funds once the remainder of the estate is used up. The second Tana disagrees with this ruling. Admon omer, bishvil shani zachar hifsati, but Admon says a son can claim just because I'm a male. Should I lose? Meaning, why should the sons, who generally have stronger rights than daughters when it comes to inheritance, have weaker rights in this case? When the estate is large, the sons have greater rights than the daughters, for they inherit everything, and the daughters receive only an allowance, like we learned. Why then, when the estate is small, should they be treated worse than the daughters? They surely should be treated at least equally and be supported together with the daughters for as long as the property lasts, as the Gemara explains Admon's opinion on page 140b in Masechet Batra. And although the sages instituted that the daughters must be supported until adulthood, Admon is of the opinion that the sages surely did not intend to grant the daughters greater rights than the sons with this decree. Rather, Admon says the law is that when the estate is not large enough to support all the children until the daughters come of age, all of the children, sons and daughters alike, receive equal support from whatever properties are in the estate until there is nothing left. Nothing is set aside specifically for the daughters. The Tanakam, however, holds that since it is more embarrassing for daughters to beg for food than it is for sons, the sages did intend that the daughters should have greater rights in the case where there is not enough property to support all of the children. A third Tana agrees with this view. Amar Rabban Gamliel said, Ro'ani et divrei Admon, I see the words of Admon as being correct, in spite of the fact that Rabban Gamliel agrees with Admon. The halakha follows the opinion of the Tanakama. And that is in a Mishnah Aleph. Mishnah Bet teaches laws that apply to the unusual case of a tumtum. A tumtum is a person who was born with an extra layer of flesh covering the private parts of his body, so it is impossible to tell whether the tumtum is a male or a female. The word tumtum literally means stopped up, in reference to the flesh that covers the tumtum's private parts. The Mishnah first discusses how a tumtum is treated with respect to inheriting his father's estate. If someone dies and leaves sons and daughters and also a child who is tumtum, the law is that when there are many properties in the estate, the sons can push him toward the daughters, meaning the tumtum is unable to collect the son's share in the estate because the sons can say, prove that you are a male and then we will give you a son's share. Rather, the tumtum receives only an allowance for support until adulthood, like one of the daughters. The tumtum receives a daughter's allowance because whether he is a male or a female, he certainly is entitled to at least that much. he cannot demand more than this because of the rule that the burden of proof rests upon the one who seeks to take money away from his fellow. Nechasim muatin, anekevot dochot oto etzat zecharim. And when the properties are few, the daughters can push him toward the sons. The tumtum cannot claim an allowance for support as a daughter. In this case, the daughters will receive more than the sons, as the Tana Kama taught in the previous Mishnah, because the daughters can say to the tumtum, prove that you are a female, and then you can receive support with us. Rather, he shares the remainder of the estate with the other sons, and when it is used up, he must go begging like the sons. In this case as well, the tumtum receives only the smaller amount, which he is entitled to whether he is a male or a female. Now, we have learned in chapter 8, Mishnah 5, that a seriously ill person has the ability to distribute property to his children simply by stating his wishes, and the recipients acquire the gifts even though they have not made any kinyan, act of acquisition on the properties. The Mishnah teaches how a tumtum is treated with respect to such gifts. If a seriously ill person whose wife was expecting says, if my wife gives birth to a boy, he should receive a maneh, 100 zuz of my property as a special gift. Then if she gave birth to a boy while the person is still alive, he indeed receives a maneh, meaning the gift is valid. In general, the rule is that one cannot give a gift to a person who does not yet exist. Therefore, normally if one gives a gift to an unborn fetus, the gift is not valid at all. However, when a seriously ill father gives a deathbed gift to his yet unborn child, the law is that the gift is valid, since the person feels especially close to his child, and a seriously ill parent would be very upset if he could not give his child a gift. The sages made an exception and declared that even a gift to an unborn child is valid in these circumstances, so the person's health will not be affected. Nikeva matayim, if the father said, if she gives birth to a girl, she should receive 200 zuz as a special gift. Then if she gave birth to a girl, she indeed receives 200. This gift too is valid. And the Mishnah speaks of a larger gift to a girl than to a boy, because it was common for a father to give a larger gift to a girl, as it is more difficult for her to earn money and more embarrassing for her to be dependent on charity. Im zachar maneh, im nikeva matayim. If the father said if she gives birth to a boy, he should receive a maneh, and if she gives birth to a girl, she should receive 200, specifying both possibilities. She gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The boy receives a maneh and the girl receives 200, meaning both gifts are valid, even though the father only said that the gift should be given if a child was born. We assume that he meant to give the gifts even if there were two children born. But even if the father specified gifts for both a boy and a girl, if she gave birth to a tumtum, he does not receive anything because he is neither a male nor a female. This ruling, the commentaries explain, contradicts the earlier ruling that the tumtum is treated like one who was possibly a male and possibly a female, and he therefore receives whichever share is smaller. Here the Mishnah rules that the tumtum receives nothing at all, and the Gemara on page 140 in Batra explains that this section of the Mishnah follows the view of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, who is of the opinion that a tumtum is considered to be in a separate category of his own, birya b'fnei atzmo, and is viewed as neither male nor female. Therefore, since the father specified gifts only for a male or a female, the tumtum is neither male nor female, receives nothing. According to Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, in the Mishnah's first case, the tumtum would also receive nothing, since he is neither a male who inherits with other sons, nor a female who receives an allowance for sustenance. However, if the father said whatever child my wife bears should receive, then even the tumtum receives a gift. The final ruling of the Mishnah concerns a case where the tumtum is an only child. And when there is no other heir, meaning no other child but him, he inherits everything. Although it is not clear whether the tumtum is a son or a daughter, he is certainly a child, and he therefore inherits his father. This ruling is true even according to the view of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, explained earlier. Even if the tumtum is neither a son nor a daughter of the deceased, he is certainly his child, and is therefore a closer relative than any non-child. And that is in about today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.